This week, you're going to be taking another step forward toward building your e-commerce operation. That's part of your semester project for the eBusiness course. Starting this week, things are going to get a little more real for you. Your team have to make some decisions about what each member of the team might be doing. Now keep in mind, as the project expands throughout the rest of the semester, you're going to make changes to this. But I want you to at least be thinking about each of the members of your team and what they have to contribute. I want you to be cautious in not saying, well, because I'm a business student, I don't have the technical background, or because I'm a technical student, a information system student, I may not have the graphic design background. Your teams are put together with a variety of skill sets and disciplines in mind. This means that you'll have to work together. Some people will be stronger in some areas and others in other areas. You are going to take a look this week and think about what could the different people of your team be involved in. Consider the fact that you're going to have to implement some, at least to some level, technical pieces of the store. You're going to need to have someone who can put together something that looks graphically presentable. And then you're going to need other people with business background to make decisions about product selection, pricing, how you're going to merchandise the product online. There's all types of decisions that are going to need to be made. Throughout the next couple of weeks, I'm going to clarify some of those decisions for you. But this week, you're putting together a team document that's going to help you understand, or at least think through, the role of each person on your team as you go forward through this process. I also am going to provide you with your first implementation of an e-commerce software platform. Now, last week you looked at some e-commerce shopping cart software programs, and you looked at some of the feature sets. And what you learned is there's a lot of them out there, dozens and dozens of different options. I'm going to give you one to start off with. For many students in this class, they use the platform I give them in order to complete the project. You don't have to. As long as you meet the objectives of the project, you can select whatever shopping cart platform you'd like. Now, with that in mind, the software I'm going to be giving you is something called WooCommerce. It's a plugin or extension of the content management system, the CMS, called WordPress. So what I want to do this week is make sure that all of you get set up with a user account on your own online store. And when I say your own, I mean your group's online store. Every store has already been given an admin URL or web address where you can go to log in to the admin of the account. That means the administrator. This also means that that particular role in the account has some pretty substantial power. Now, I suggest that not everyone use the admin account. In fact, I suggest the admin account only be used during this initial setup process. Someone in your group is going to have to take the lead, sign into the admin account, and then build individual user accounts for each of you within the system. And I'm going to walk through the process right now. In every case, I have given a list in the assignments for this week of the name or the URL of your online store that I've set up for you, along with an admin URL. That's where you're going to log in to do the back-end work as the people who run and manage the store. Every store currently has one user account, and that name is admin, ADMIN. The password for that account is actually listed in your gradebook. There's a specific row or line in your gradebook that says admin account password. That's where you get the password. Again, I would suggest that not everybody use that. Just select one person in your group to do that. And it will work something like this. You'll go to the URL I provided, and you'll type the username, admin. And then you'll insert the actual password I've given you in your gradebook. Again, I know I've said this 3 times, but it's really important. I don't believe everyone in your group needs to do this. Probably just one person will do it. They will set up individual user accounts, and each of you individually will sign in with your own user account that they'll communicate back to you. So let's see how things look when you sign in with your admin account. Your page is going to look something like this. If you sign in with the admin account, you'll see something up at the top right that will say, "Howdy admin," but once you get your user account and log in with the user account, it will likely say something more like, "Howdy Christopher." So let's take a look and watch the process of how I'm going to create a user account. The person who you designate in your group to do this thing will find the section called Users, and then select All Users. Notice there's only one account listed there. To add a new account, you'll go up to the Add New window or button. Then we'll put a username. For the sake of this account, I'm going to call myself Christopher. And I'm going to put my email address in here. Then I'm going to put some other information. Not all these fields are required. Notice they give you a suggestion on what the password should be. I would think that for most of you, you're probably going to start with a simpler password. And then you'll go back and you'll change that to something more complex. Because you're going to have to give the password to the administrator creating these accounts. And you probably aren't going to want them to hold your password all along. So the next thing you have to think about is, what is the role of this person? Now there's a whole bunch of roles listed here. Administrator is the top role in the system. Now, that sounds like a great thing to have the top role. There's a lot of ability that comes with that. There's a lot of power that comes with it. Sometimes we call that the power user or the root user. And while that sounds like a good thing to be the power user or the root user, because you can do anything you want, it also brings a lot of power that carries with it responsibility. It means you could totally wipe out the store if you press the wrong thing, delete the wrong thing. I would suggest that for most of the people in your group, you're not going to be administrators. Now, you may want to have 2 administrators, one that is the primary administrator and the one that serves as a backup. But for most people, I think you're going to want them to be authors or editors. And authors means that they can create content. For instance, they could create a new product. An editor can go a step further. They can create new product and they can edit the products of other people. Maybe most people in your group will want to be editors. So let me just make myself here, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to make myself an administrator. And I'm going to make my password really simple for now. I'm just going to call it password. Now, I would never suggest you do this in a real production server. In fact, I'm going to delete it almost immediately after we get started here. It's reminding us this is a very bad password, and we're going to confirm that's okay. We know it's a bad password. And we'll hit Add New User. And now I've created this one here. I can always go back as an administrator and see details about each of my users. I can also change their role. I can reset their password. But this is currently set as an administrator. I'm going to reset this user instead of as administrator with a lower level set of permissions, meaning what they can do. And I'm going to call them a subscriber now. And then I'm going to update this user. If I go back to the user list, I still see Christopher as a user here, but you notice the role in the 4th column over, instead of saying administrator, it now says subscriber. I'm going to log out of this page. Going to the top right where my name was, where it said hello or howdy admin, I'm going to use the drop down. I'm going to log in using the new username. And I would suggest for most of you in your groups, you're probably just going to use your first name as your username. In other words, tell the person who's setting up the account, if your name is Mary, maybe you want the username to be Mary. I'm going to use the password that I set up earlier. When I do, you should notice on this left-hand side of the screen, there are many fewer options. And that's what happens. Each time you change the amount of permissions that a user has, it means that they have less things they can do. This user can basically do nothing except change some of their own information. Let's go back to the admin user. I'm going to log out of this subscriber role user. Now, again, you see how many different options I have here. And when I say here, on the left-hand side of the screen, there's all kinds of things I can do. I can create content, I can change settings, but as a lower level user, and I want to show you that one more time, I'm going to log out of my high level, the admin user, and I'm going to log in as an admin, as myself. Again, there's very little on the left-hand column that I can do. So let me show you, again, because I don't think all of you should be admin, probably not. And I also don't believe that all of you should be just subscribers. So we're going to change the Christopher user by logging back into the admin. We're going to change the Christopher user to somewhere in between. We're going to edit Christopher. Instead of him just being a subscriber, we're going to make him an editor. Save this user. Now I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log back in as Christopher. I just want you to see the amount of options that are on the left side of the screen. There's far more options on the left side of the screen than there was when Christopher was just a subscriber, but there's still less options than when you're logged in as an admin. So each of your groups are going to have to decide over time. And the tension here is, for any time you give someone more permission, it's like a convenience versus security issue. If you give people a lot of permissions, if you give a user a lot of permissions, it tends to be less secure in your environment. But they can get things done more quickly because they never have to go back to the administrator for additional permissions. On the other side of the coin, if you let them be an administrator, they can do a lot of damage along the way. So you say, well, why don't I just give them a limited amount of ability to get things done, permission to get things done, permission to do certain tasks. In that case, they're probably going to be less likely to cause great damage, but they're going to be blocked from doing a lot of things, and they're going to have to go back to the administrator to say, can I please have permission to do this task? And these are just some business security related decisions you'll have to make about how much permission you give individual users. So I'm going to go back to being an admin a minute. And in most cases, you're not going to go back and forth between these roles. You're going to sign in as yourself, and if you and your group thought through this correctly, you're really not going to have to go back to the admin for more permission. They're going to give you the right amount of permission to begin with, but then they can adjust it along the way. So I'll log out as an individual user and log back in as an administrator, someone that has administrative access. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the admin username, that designation that I'm just logging in as right now as an admin, that doesn't make me an admin. It just means that user I happen to create with admin level permissions. I could make the Christopher user an admin, and I'd log in with Christopher, and I would have all the admin permissions. Well, again, watch what happens when I am an admin. I have the settings area and the plugin areas, and those are going to be really important for you going forward in the course. Someone in your group is going to have these permissions. And I'm going to ask every one of you to complete the task that I'm going to complete right now. And when I say every one of you, I mean every group, not every individual. Right now, the content management system is set up to just be a basic content management system and not an e-commerce website. So we need to take it to the next level, and we need to add e-commerce functionality. The way you're going to do this is you're going to go to plugins and add new. Then you're going to search for the plugin called WooCommerce. One of the results you'll see is WooCommerce, W-O-O Commerce. We're going to click Install Now. After a short pause, there'll be an indicator saying that the plugin or the extension or the functionality, however you want to refer to it, has been installed. You notice now that the button has changed next to the word WooCommerce. Instead of saying install now, it says activate. That means that the WooCommerce plugin or extension or functionality is now downloaded to your store framework, but it's not active. You can't start using it. Now, I'm going to activate it in just a moment by pushing this button, but if you look on the left side of the screen, you'll notice a certain amount of menu items. As soon as I activate it, watch what happens. Now there's more options on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see there's a new set of options for WooCommerce. Home, orders, customers, reports, settings, status, and extensions. And we'll go through all those different pieces as the semester goes on. You'll also notice there's a new section related to payments, because if you're going to operate a store, you have to figure out how are you going to allow people to pay. And products. You're going to need products in your store. These are new menu items specifically designed for helping to populate your store. Building new products, product categories, tagging the products, managing reviews of products. Now for your assignment this week, all of you are required to individually log into your new individual account. Remember, this isn't to the admin account that I created for you. It's for your individual account that was created by your admin. And you are going to take a screenshot that shows the URL of the website, as well as in the top right corner, your name next to the word howdy. And you're going to submit that so that I know every one of you have a user account and every one of you have logged into the user account. Now, if you have any questions, please let me know. This assignment has a lot of parts to it, including the idea of having to coordinate with your administrator. Whoever you as a group decides is going to be your top administrator of the site to create your accounts. Then they're going to have to report back to you with the account information so you can actually log in. And then you're going to have to prove to me with this screenshot that you actually logged in. A lot of steps, and I'm happy to help along the way. Don't hesitate to contact me if there's anything I can do to assist you. Have a great day, and let me know what I can do to help.